What's good, YouTube? It's the Baker. So, going to be going over my strategy and builds that I used for my mag endurance runs, the 19-hour and the 14.5 hour. 14.5 hour was just done as a troll, more or less, because I went over kill counter and I wanted to extract with the 3 kills in a 14.5 hour survival. It looked nice. I don't know. Just looked nice. Yeah. But anyways, so overall, the main basis behind with Mag and using her bubble and the strategy behind this was just using a lot of overtime damage to ramp up the dot damage in the bubble and the explosion damage at the end. Both my weapons have passive toxin on it, so I'm able to get those stacks up really fast. I use viral to increase the dot damage itself, and I use radiation so that I can cancel out the auras from the ancients. So I'm actually able to have full duration bubbles, and I don't have to worry about the status redirection and the damage absorb. Now, as for the mag build, you can really run anything you want as long as you follow these simple guidelines. As much range as you can fit on as possible so that you have mobs being sucked in from further away and damage happening and occurring to them faster, thus increasing the end damage for the bubble. Duration, your 2 does not want to be under 10 seconds. The only reason why you don't want it under 10 seconds is because when you do cast it on a mob that isn't affected by radiation yet, or you cast it on a disruptor themselves, their aura will reduce it down to a 2-second timer for that bubble. This will still give you a little bit of time to keep things under control and have a good end damage for the actual bubble itself. And finally, you're going to want these 2 things. You want efficiency cap and you want natural talent. Natural talent is a must for when you're casting your 4 so that you can get around efficiently and be able to loot things while keeping mobs CC'd. Essentially, because you cannot move when you're casting your 4, you want to be done casting your 4 in the time it takes you to aim glide jump. So essentially what I like to do is I'll cast my 4 before I go and loot, and then I'll jump myself out, and in the air I'll cast my 4 again, and at the same time I'll aim so that the rate at which I am accelerating forward slows down in a sense, so that I can travel a further distance. And then this gives me the ability to keep myself constantly moving while I'm casting my abilities. When you're going to loot, you need to be moving. You need to never stand still. If you stand still for 1 second, your chance of dying goes up well over 100%. So keep moving, keep rolling, keep casting. You just have to keep very active when you're looting. You can use your Tenno if you want to, but you're going to need to get ammo eventually, and you will eventually need energy orbs unless you want to use pads the whole time. I prefer to just rely off of energy orbs. With your 2, you'll be able to cast it 3 times before it'll actually start to despawn the first one you cast. So you'll get a total of 3 bubbles you can put up before the first one starts to dissipate. You actually do want to take advantage of this. If you cast 3 bubbles in the same spot, they will all join in with gathering all the same damage, so they will really power up off of each other really nicely. Don't be afraid to cast that 4th one. I love spamming the hell out of the damn thing, and the reason why is you can get a lot of quick ramp up damage, and you can just keep mass AoE explosions going just 24/7, just all this damage that'll go out. You'll be killing to your heart's content at the end of the day. The more mobs on the map, the better it is for her. You will note that I didn't mention anything about power strength. That's because power strength is not needed. May seem weird to say, but in my subjective opinion, the only time you're going to be implementing in power strength is when you're going to be dealing with armored units, because you want her 3 to initially strip as much armor as possible so that your damage can take place as soon as possible. And the reason why that I can base that opinion is because during this run I was getting 100 million hits at the end of my bubble when I added my specters in. The specters are another thing. They are a great learning tool, but they're not needed whatsoever. It's the same thing with the arcanes. They're great for learning, but they're not needed whatsoever. You can do the same thing with adding an adaptation, rolling guard. You take your pick of mods and stuff like that. Quality of life features, as I like to call them. I've already taken with no arcanes. I took mag to level 9400, so I'm not really worried about that. The specters, what they do is they help add in more damage, obviously, but most importantly, what they did for me, and I needed them personally because I'm not good enough at mag to not run without them, was they gave me meat shields. They gave me a distraction. They distracted the enemies from attacking me for any moment in time, and because they did that, I was able to play more efficiently. That's what the specters do for you on this mission. They are the greatest learning tool that you will have in this entire run. One of the most important things with it is not so much the selection of what specter you want to use. To be fair, use really whatever makes you comfortable and whatever you like the most. Only because the Trinity I used on this run, everybody knows how Trinity specters are. They're decent. You know, they're your average run-of-the-mill standard specter type deal. So you really can use any type of you want there. The weapon is the only thing that I would say would matter the most. You want to make sure your primary has innate punch through. That would be the most important thing. I have used Ignis before in the past, as it's a great passive CC, and it was a great passive CC for it. It's just the only thing is it doesn't affect the dot damage. It only affects the end blow up. Now, that's not too much of a problem given how you're running the build right now, or how I ran the build, but I'm going to assume not everybody has a hold macro to do their fire and their 2 at the same time, and most people aren't going to want to cast that. So I would probably lean towards going with Mutilus Cernos if you're not going to be casting your bubble as often. If you want to maybe add some more duration on there and get your bubble timer up as much as you can, do feel free to do so. My build is not a set in stone build. There's a lot of play to be had here. I can honestly say this is one of those situations where as long as you just go in with the right loadout to complement mag, you can almost run anything you want as long as you follow those parameters that I said earlier in the video. As for the focus tree, I use Xeneric because I don't have Arcane Energize. I feel like if you maybe had a double Energize, you might not need Xeneric. It would just be a little bit tighter a play, and you'd want to use a Prime Flow as well, on top of efficiency cap. And this is why I saved Xeneric for part of the optional state. Is, in my opinion, this is an optional one. You still have a lot more to benefit from Xeneric on top of it. You can use the Xeneric pull-in to help pull mobs in closer to the bubbles. You can use the Xeneric pull-in to get mobs unbugged from locations. So instead of having to go out and kill mobs like I was having to during the run, you can use the Xeneric pull-in to synergize into your bubble by pulling those mobs on top of you and then pulling those mobs close to the bubble, and then they get pulled in and they get dealt with, so you don't have to deal with mobs getting stuck in rooms like I had to deal with. As for what else you could possibly use for focus trees would really just be on you. If you wanted to use something else, I would recommend Xeneric because overall it just fits the best with the situation, but it isn't an actual needed thing if you have other things to help complement the loss of that. So that's why I left it into this optional section, and I wanted to include the fact that what I have for talents is not really all you need for it. It's what you baseline need for it if you're going to be running to the parameters that I'm running. But there's a lot more you can add on to it, and there's other things that you can do, so I wanted to cover it in that basis. As for what would probably be the most common question I get asked, which is, how do you keep your oxygen up so well? Well, I've already made a video for that. This goes over on how you will handle looting in a camp strategy. This is specifically a camp strategy. I do not have one for where you're picking up actively as you kill things yet. But that about does it for the video today. Be sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Hit the little bell for notifications. Follow me on Twitter and join the Discord for updates on when I do go live and when I upload new videos. If you do want to help support the channel and continuing to do what we do on the channel, there is a donation link in the description below. Definitely be sure to go check it out and support the channel. And I cannot thank you enough in advance for all your support in doing what we do here. But I do hope you all take care, stay safe, stay humble, be open, and as always, never stop searching. Peace, everybody.